Hey, welcome to Mikey's Video Game Madness. Today we are playing Super Mario Odyssey, as Mario usually obnoxiously yells during the game. This is being played on the Nintendo Switch, which is in docked mode. I don't think there's a huge difference between docked and portable mode. I think portable runs at 720p. Does it even matter? I don't know. I doubt it. Haven't done this in a while. I forgot how to record videos apparently and say stuff about were my videos really that great to begin with? Probably not. But hey, that's part of the charm of Mikey's Video Game Madness, which to this day I still regret naming my channel that, but at the time I thought I was going to just be recording video game videos just like everyone else, but I've found that I'm really making the videos I kind of miss seeing on YouTube. There's a handful of YouTubers that still make these kind of videos while they're recording a game and talking nonsense. A lot of my friends and family and people that know me think I just record video game Let's Play videos. Half of the time I'm not talking about the game. So without further ado, let's talk about stuff beside the game. So where have I been all this time? Well, I've been kind of sick. I had a cold. I was worried it was going to turn into bronchitis. And then OCD, and being a hypochondriac that I am, it kind of crossed my mind for a little bit. Maybe I'm getting emphysema. Luckily it went away, but even after it going away, I'm still trying to struggle not to choke a little bit. So I had all that shit in my lungs, so every time I would talk I would choke. And let me tell you, working in sales and trying to sell people stuff and be like, hey, would you be interested in yeah, I'm sure that won a lot of people over. But I figured today would be a good day. What you're hearing is Coke with lime, which kind of tastes like Coke with a hint of pine sol. Now, if you've ever wondered, if you were having a Coke and you're like, man, you know what would really hit the spot if I put 3 drops of pine sol in this would be fucking amazing. Well, look no further. Coke and lime has you covered. So if you like that pine sol goodness without the toxic after effects of drinking a cleaning solution, Coke and lime would be great for you. Coke and pine sol, no, not a good idea. It's not bad. Sometimes the aftertaste is weird, but I figured I'd switch it up, because I'm a rebel without a cause. But yeah. Have you ever been to one of those cheap discount stores that kind of smell like pine sol or some pine cleaning solution? That's kind of what Coke and lime smells like, but oddly it's somehow good. I think Pepsi makes the lemon one. I don't know. I'm not a soda connoisseur. Or a pop or a cola connoisseur, depending on where you're from. So that's why I haven't recorded for a while. Had a lot on my mind. I've gotten more hours than typically I'm used to, so a lot of times I just wanted to play video games by myself without recording when I did actually play video games, which isn't very often, which would surprise many if they actually saw how many video games I have. But I actually have to be in the right mood. So this is Mario Odyssey, and we got to go back to talking about the game for a little bit. And it's basically like a sequel to Mario 64 and I guess Mario Sunshine and Mario Galaxy. It basically takes all the best things from those games and is surprisingly great. Probably my favorite game on the Switch so far. I'm not still a terribly huge fan of Zelda Breath of the Wild, also known as Zelda Skyrim. I still do not really care for that game all that much, but I really want to give it a chance because I see how much people enjoy it, and how I want to be part of the popular kids group, so I want to do everything everybody else does. So I'm going to force myself to absolutely love and adore that game, which is probably not going to happen, but hopefully the game will be decent because I do see merit in it and I really love Zelda. But to be honest with you, I'm more excited about Zelda Link's Awakening, the remake, than actually getting into Zelda Breath of the Wild. And I know they're coming out with a sequel, which why would I be excited for the sequel if I'm not too crazy about the first one, but Mario Odyssey and Zelda Breath of the Wild were and I guess Bayonetta 2, which also came with Bayonetta 1, were the first Switch games that I got. But this is probably my favorite. Mario 64 was one of the first truly 3D analog controlled games that I ever played. Like, they had some 3D games on like the PlayStation that I played, but it didn't have that analog control. I'll tell you how stupid I was, and I probably told this story before. I mean, surprise, surprise. You've heard my commentary, you know, I don't sound like a professor when I talk. But anyway, basically when they had like a kiosk at a Blockbuster video store that you could play a demo of Mario 64. If you're not familiar with Blockbuster Video, it was basically a store where you could rent out movies and video games, and they got the Nintendo 64 like a little demo set before the system was even out. And when I saw this weird like controller, the pitchfork looking controller or whatever, you can call it the Triton controller because that sounds cooler than pitchfork, but yeah, there's like the analog stick in the middle, and I, as clueless as I was, I thought it was like an extra button or whatever, so I was trying to push it in. I was trying to use the D-pad to control Mario, and it threw me off. But playing Mario 64, not being used to playing 3D games, I would literally get like stressed out like during like the platforming areas. I don't know why, because I wasn't in any immediate danger, but like the height of Mario being really high like stressed me out, like a platforming level in a 2D game never has. Like, I really felt like I was in those heights, those ridiculous heights, and it really stressed me out that Mario would fall. Not that I was going to lose, but just the idea of falling in a 3D space. I don't know, it fucked with me for a while. But eventually I got older and jaded, and now games like that don't impress me or stress me out at all anymore. And now I've become the fine young man that I am today, although I'm getting at that age where I can't even say young man anymore. It's really depressing. So this game is really fun. It's really creative. The new gimmick to this game is using Mario's hat to obtain different powers, and the way you do that is this displayed through this lovely frog. I believe it has a mustache. I wasn't really paying attention. I was looking down the whole time. If you haven't guessed, I'm recording the commentary after the gameplay, which I recorded a long time ago, roughly around the time whenever my last video was recorded. So I've been out of the recording game, as we like to call it, for quite some time. So hopefully this video suffice to make up for all that time for all three of you that'll end up watching this, if I'm lucky. So yeah, you throw like your hat at certain enemies and it will literally possess them, and then you gain control of them, which is kind of a cool feature. I like how Mario kind of innovates. Like, I know Mario Galaxy was basically the same game, but I think that was originally planned as an expansion pack. But I like it a lot. I really like the 3D Marios. I don't think Mario 64 has aged all that well, like most of the games on the Nintendo 64. I was so excited to play like the rare replay games, and that does clean up the Nintendo 64 graphics a little bit, but not as much as you would think it to be I guess a game changer to win you over. Like, I know some games like on Dreamcast, or like if I've seen emulated games on PlayStation 2 and even PlayStation 1 that actually look fairly decent, like when they're put in high resolution, but I just don't see that really happening much for the Nintendo 64. I think a large part of that is due to the Nintendo 64's cartridge format, so the textures were always like blurry and stuff like that because there wasn't a lot of room. Like, they had huge games like basically like compressed on these small ass cartridges, so you know, it just doesn't hold up that well in my opinion. This is still kind of like one of those collection fest games, but it doesn't feel like a chore like playing Banjo, Kazooie, and even games that try to emulate that style, like the most recent one I could think of is Ukulele. Yes, you're collecting, but it doesn't feel like a chore, and there's enough variety in the game where even if you're doing a collect-a-thon mission, it still feels fun. You're usually doing something different to collect. I guess you would collect the moon pieces in this game. Most of the Mario games you collect like stars or whatever. But yeah, and the boss battles are fairly easy. I haven't finished the game. Maybe they get harder later on, but they're really fun. The graphics, Nintendo always has a way with their shaders and their art style and their aesthetic to make a game look like it holds up well with, say, even though they don't say it's a competitor, let's not kid ourselves. The Switch is a competitor with the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. I don't think the Xbox One gives Nintendo much of a challenge, but I think PlayStation 4 definitely does compete with the Nintendo Switch. So we have a nice title screen there, all fancy. I'll be upscaling this to 1080p, so that's a fancy 1080p title we got there, probably upscaled. I think this game might run at 900p or some arbitrary resolution like that. So this game has some weird foggy effect to it, but it still looks really good. I don't know what the deal with that is. It does look a little faded. When I say foggy, I'm really good with my adjectives here. But here we see Mario possess the lightning bolt, that crafty devil. But the graphics and the character models and everything hold up. Like, I would not think that this game would feel out of place beside it obviously being Mario, but I mean graphic wise, if it was like on the PlayStation 4 or Xbox One, they just, I don't know, they picked the right shaders and the character models and everything looks nice. I always thought the Wii U models looked nice, and I don't know. But then again, like, if I went back and looked at The Last of Us playing on the PlayStation 3, which was like a first party PlayStation 3 or PlayStation game on the PlayStation 3, like, I would not think that that game was possible. Like, The Last of Us, even though I know they have the remastered version on the PlayStation 4, The Last of Us on PlayStation 3 looked like it was somehow in between the PlayStation 3 and the PlayStation 4 in the console cycle. It did not look like, oh, I'm playing with the Pro controller. I couldn't stand playing games like it's showing you there. It looks so out of place to see like live action video there, but that's definitely something you can use if you're using the Pro controller. You can flick it. I don't know if the Nintendo Switch Lite that's coming out in September will have the gyroscope in it. I know it's missing a lot of the features in the Joy-Con, but I don't know if it has a gyroscope. Or like accelerator or whatever. I don't know what's in that fucking thing. I know the HD Rumble actually feels pretty cool. There's like some games, even though it's a novelty, I still think it's really cool. Where like I think it's whatever the Kirby game is on the Switch, which I own, so you think I would know what it is. That game is super easy, even for a Kirby game. It's a fun game. I just haven't finished it. I recently got a D-pad for the Switch, so I'm thinking about getting back into playing the Switch more. I don't know why that won me over, because I usually play the Switch in docked mode. Like, this kind of game feels better playing docked. But, yeah, there's this part in Kirby, I want to say Kirby All-Stars, but that's not it. I believe that's a game on the Super Nintendo. Where you actually can put the game on the table and the vibration frequency is is so subtle in how it changes and everything. Like, it actually can play music. It's really cool. Like, I feel like that's a feature that isn't utilized much, and I like the feedback in handheld mode a lot. It's not something I'm used to, but it works. I've always liked the feedback. I remember the first time like I actually played a game with controller feedback. I believe it was GoldenEye on the Nintendo 64, and just like the little feedback when you were using the gun, like, just added so much to the game. Something so simple. It really, my dad was like a repairman, like I've shared in many videos for many years, working on TVs, video game consoles, pretty much anything it needed fixed. Nowadays, TVs and stuff are cheap compared to what they would cost now if you took inflation into consideration. Like, instead of getting a new TV, you would get your old one repaired, VCR or whatever. But my dad's like, it's just a motor that's like not perfectly round. They just like cut a chunk out of it and it like took the magic away. But whatever. I thought there was like maybe a little gnome on like a hamster wheel doing some sorcery, making the controller vibrate a little bit when I shot the gun in GoldenEye, but apparently that wasn't the case. Apparently it was an uneven motor, or an uneven weight that was attached to a motor. So it wasn't as fantastical as a gnome and a hamster wheel, forced probably against its will to make the wheel roll every time I shot the gun. So we have a nice stylish, trying to think what those things were called. What are they like called? Like chomps or something. I just know it makes that noise. It's like womp womp. Maybe it's a womp womp. I can't remember. I used to know all this stuff, but unfortunately, years and years of useless knowledge pushed it out the window for other useless knowledge. So right now we have a fantastic T-Rex taking a break off of the last awful Jurassic Park sequel. Sorry if you like that movie, but I mean, what compliments a T-Rex more than a Mario hat and a mustache? I'm waiting for an answer. I know, you couldn't think of anything. This is one stylish fucking dinosaur right here. So we're just gonna mosey on our way now that we have dino power, as I'd like to trademark that. Hopefully something has a trademark. I feel like Power Rangers would have copyrighted that already. So we'll just spell it differently so it can still technically be like something that I came up with. So when you possess all these different things, you get different powers. Like right now, you basically have destruction power, as I would call it. Is that trademarked? If not, I need to get on that. So we're discovering different areas, and these games will drive somebody that has OCD nuts, because you want to collect every little thing, and they make sure that the stuff that you need to collect are very contrasting colors, so it really eats at your soul. So right now, this is something really cool. I don't think you can control Mario with the D-pad, which I wish they would have allowed you to do. Because I think every time that I go into this mode, habitually I switch to the D-pad. I just cannot play 2D games with an analog stick. Like, it drives me, well, I can, but it drives me nuts. Let's be real. Like, I beat Little Big Planet with an analog stick. I mean, you don't have to think I'm awesome now, but you can think it later. As long as you think it at some point, I appreciate it. But I really like this graphical style where it's like 2D and stuff like that. You know, I said I wasn't going to talk about the game that much, but I seem to be talking about it a lot. It's just that Mario charm. What can I say? So, yeah, it's just really weird. I got Mario Maker, but I haven't paid for the Nintendo Online service. But if that was one game that would convince me to do so, I'd probably... $20 isn't that bad. But I mean, you're basically getting unlimited levels, and I want to make like levels so people can not only criticize... I like how the moon that you collect is 8-bit as well, but I want to get it where not only people criticize me here, like maybe I'll get some negative criticism on Mario Maker 2 as well. I actually have not played the Maker part of that game. I played some of the tutorial, but I've been mostly playing like the games levels. But I've seen some of the levels people put up on there, and they're just freaking crazy, some of those levels. Like, I just want to make fun levels that just feel creative, and I don't know. They don't feel like half-assed, but they feel like they would fit into Mario 3. I don't need anything incredibly fancy. That's one thing about, even though it's cool as a campaign mode, the levels do feel a lot different than, say, the levels that you would play in your average Mario game. Another thing about Mario that I will have to say, like the new Super Mario series, maybe the resolution was low, or maybe they just happened to make the polygonal characters like look really flat, but if it's not the case, like it looks like that they were made out of 2D sprites and I never noticed it. I'm really hoping they release Super Mario 3D World. I really wish they'd release 3D Land and 3D World maybe on the same cartridge. That would be fucking amazing. I've loved 3D Land, which I have on the 3DS, which I think it's fantastic. I really loved Mario Galaxy, but I felt like Mario 3D Land was going even further in the right direction. That's probably, I know this is weird, Theater Rhythm Final Fantasy and Theater Rhythm Final Fantasy Curtain Call. I think that Mario 3D Land's probably my favorite 3DS game. It's my third favorite 3DS game, which it has 3 in the title, so it obviously makes sense. That was the worst attempt at humor ever, but what can I say? I'm not a stand-up comedian. I'm just some lowly guy making piss poor YouTube videos. So, yeah, as you can see, the bosses are fun, but super easy. I mean, they get more difficult the further you go. Like, this is only, like, the second world. Like, what do you expect? Like, fucking Contra level quality difficulty. It's like Mario. So I get three moons that, ironically, are paired up like bananas. That's so weird. The creators of Mario is just so fucking creative. But yeah, Super Mario Maker, to get back on topic, if back on topic means to rewind like 6 minutes ago, like playing Mario Maker with the analog stick in portable mode, which is what I would normally play the game in, especially like I gotta go wash my clothes tomorrow, so I'm going to bring my 3DS and test out the D-pad because I haven't had much time with it. So, playing that, I'm like, this really needs a D-pad. And I also got Street Fighter for it, and that's something that I always wanted portable, especially the 30th anniversary collection, which is what I got. Like, to have, like, every version of Street Fighter up into Street Fighter 3/3 Impact. Like, that's awesome. I'm terrible at Street Fighter, but I love the games, and if I don't have any issues with the popular drift issue everybody's having now, like, playing that game with the analog stick would totally give it to me. But the graphics are really nice, and I feel like even though they're not running on nearly as powerful as hardware as like the PlayStation 4, which I'm sure is considered obsolete by whatever is on the PC for sure. I'm sure whatever is on PlayStation 5 will probably be less powerful than a halfway decent PC whenever it comes out, which will probably be next year, probably holiday season. At least that's when the new Xbox is coming out. Scarlet's a pretty cool name. Hopefully they'll keep that. But the creativity and the graphical style of this really looks good, and it fits in, and it doesn't look completely out of place. It makes me wonder, like, I wonder how much more power they could have gotten out of the PlayStation 3, especially when you look at games like Last of Us. Like, as far as I know, they never attempted an Unreal Engine 4 game, but there seems to be quite a few on the Nintendo Switch, which is surprising. But some of the games don't look half bad, especially if you look at it from far away in portable mode. But I was surprised that they actually got Hellblade on the Switch, and it doesn't look half bad compared to what I was thinking it would look like. So I'm like, I wonder if they really attempted to get the Unreal Engine 4 to work on the PlayStation 3, how decent would it look? Like, I hear from this day that they still didn't untap all the power out of the PlayStation 3 because it was so hard to program for. I don't know how true that is because, I read it on the internet, what do I know? But, yeah, this This game's really awesome. The worlds are really different, and if you were to pick one game beside Mario Kart, which is like the best portable game in my opinion to play, that's probably another one of my favorite games on the Nintendo Switch. That's like the best pickup. I guess my favorite games on the Nintendo Switch so far are Mario Odyssey, Mario Kart, which is like, that's usually like the answer you say when you don't play video games and you have to say that you play a video game. You say Mario Kart. And hopefully it'll be Street Fighter 30th anniversary now that I have that going on in my life. But I really liked Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze as well. But I hope you enjoyed this video and the information was at the very least entertaining, because I know it definitely wasn't sure as fuck educational. But thank you so much for being patient with the slow drip of videos that are coming in on my channel. There's just been like me being sick, and even though I was feeling better, like I still had the shit in my throat and I would have been hacking the whole time. So I would definitely check this game out if you haven't already, if you have a Switch. But I imagine if you have a Switch you probably play this game. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you're all doing well, and take care. Bye. Talk to you later.
If you want to, like, comment,